Hi, thank you so much for joining me. And today's process video is for Scraptember again, Scraptember 2022, and it's day 13. And today's prompt is stars. And as soon as I saw that prompt, I thought of this stencil from, I think it was Echo Park. Yes, Echo Park Little Boy or Baby Boy. And I thought this would be really nice to push some texture paste through, which is what I'm doing now, and then colour it with Distress Oxide once the texture paste is dry. So I'm just going around the edges. As you saw there, it was a photo of Amelia as a baby, her first week as a baby. I think it was the day we brought her home. So there's nothing really to journal about or anything. I just wanted to document this photo. So it's going to be a very quick layout. And I'm just putting the texture paste around the edge of the stencil. There's no need to waste it by putting it in the middle. So just checking it's all over there. And you can see on the left-hand side, I've gone slightly over the edges. So I'm just using my palette knife to scrape that up. And that's a perfect way of fixing any faults that you have when you're using texture paste. So as I say, now it's dry, I'm going in with this Distress Oxide in Saltwater Taffy. It's a nice bright bubblegum pink. Which I really like, and I didn't want a solid block of colour, but I wanted it to be fairly well covered, so I'm using the packaging technique but taking my time to make sure that everything is, as I say, fairly well covered but still in pools of colour rather than as a solid block. And now that's dry, I'm going to go in with my tissue paper to mount the photo onto, and then I will mount it onto some pattern paper as well. I'm using Simple Stories Boho Baby collection for this photo because I just love it, and I think it goes really nicely with baby photos as it's meant to be. So choosing this pink paper with the daisies on to map the photo, and I shall trim round, I put it on foam pads, trim round 3 sides, and then the bottom edge I just tear just to add a bit of texture, and then that'll go bang in the middle of the layout. And there you have it, and this is the basis for the layout really. I've fussy cut some of the rainbow and rabbit and bear embellishments, as well as the stars and moons from some of the pattern papers that I've just got scraps left of, and I've pulled out some other bits from my stash, some stars from JD3D print, because obviously the prompt is stars, so I'm trying to get as many stars as I can in. Some of the JD3D print flowers, and some other deep dived stash. You can see those unforgettable tassels and bows on the left hand side, and some Chamel enamel dots and stars again. So sticking that photo down before I go too far with the embellishment, and then making sure that it's straight and central with my T-ruler. And now that photo's down, I can really start to build up these embellishment clusters. And this is basically all the layout's going to be. I'm just going to build up some embellishments on the bottom left and bottom right hand corner and join those through the middle, adding some foam pads to some elements to raise them, like this bunny head. I'm going to raise onto foam pads, and also that pink moon gets raised up as well. And I want to bring in some threads, so I've pulled out some of my pink cotton thread, and I'm just adding a nest of that underneath the right hand corner of the photo. want to try with this JD3D print flower again, and I do layer it onto the photo because there's a lot of almost negative space, just Amelia's bodysuit there. It's fine to layer it over the photo, and it just brings added dimension and things to the layout. Adding that hot pink bow there to match with the tassel, and then I shall carry on with the layering of the embellishments and ephemera. These fussy cutting pieces from the papers really stretches your stash, because I've more or less used all this up, but I was still able to create a layout using a lot of the fussy cut pieces. So this label just bridges the gap between the two groups of embellishments, and I'm writing in a grey pen just that it's week 1, and I shall add June 2007 with a very fine black pen. I'm having problems sticking that flower down. You'll see later on I have to go in with a bit more glue. So just trying to see if I want any more label elements around the edge of the photo, and it's this point I realise I should have scuffed the edges of that paper just to make it pop a little bit more against that background. So just go around with my fingernails and just rough it up a little bit, and you'll see it adds a little bit more texture and dimension, and you can see it much more clearly now. So the thread that I added the first time around has almost totally been covered up, so I'm just adding a bit more to this left hand cluster now. See, that flower keeps popping up. So just adding some glue to keep that thread in place. I'm trying to decide where to go next. I'm not quite finished, so if I start looking through the rest of this stash that I've pulled out, add a couple of these pink stars to keep going with the prompt. And then one of these enamel, they're almost like a star. I'll pretend it's a star. Some more JD3D print white stars, just to lift the colour a bit because it's very pink at the moment. And these sunbursts that he had in one of his limited edition kits. And here's where I go in with a bit more glue, and then use my water bottle to weigh it down. It's not going anywhere now. So I think about adding more flowers, but I'm quite happy with that one that's on there, so I just leave it at that. But I want to use up some more of these fussy cut elements. I've cut them, so I must use them. And this is my little pot of JD3D print and Bramble Fox pieces that I've got, as well as some other little bits and bats. So adding some gold stars there, just to bring in another colour, because we've got that on the paper cut stars. It's nice to add them. I'm continuing to add the cut pieces and the JD3D. And I like that rainbow just there, it just finishes it off. So a few pink sparkly enamel dots from the Hey Little Magpie shop, and that's all the embellishing done. Finally, I'm just going to go in with my grey pen and doodle around the edge of the layout, just to provide a frame so there's not too much white space there. And that's the layout done. So thank you so much for joining me today. As you can tell, a very quick one, and great if you don't have any journaling or title, you just want to document a photo. Please check the description box down below to see the playlist of everybody joining in on Scraptember. There are some wonderful videos being uploaded daily, and I shall see you again tomorrow for my next prompt. Thank you so much. Bye.